The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. You can see it in Central America now. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have so-called the period of normalization. It may last indefinitely. Normalization is a cynical expression borrowed from Soviet propaganda. When the Soviet tanks moved into Czechoslovakia in '68, Comrade Brezhnev said, "Now the situation in brotherly Czechoslovakia is normalized." This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth, to destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts, and they talk about the new evidence coming out showing directly that the FBI knew that John Brennan was briefing the White House about the fact that Hillary Clinton was behind the disinformation that was used to launch the special counsel Russia hoax investigation. We're going to look at President Trump recovering from COVID and coming back full force against the deep state right ahead of the election. You guys are going to want to stick around and hear that and a whole lot more. Hi, my name's Craig. Welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. You guys know the drill. Come here, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it already. Plus, don't forget to come here, hit the like button, and stick around at the end. We do our segment, God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, we're going to look at a very special piece of scripture out of the book of James that talks about being doers of the word of Jesus Christ and what that means and what it looks like. So I hope you guys stick around at the end for that, as we do every episode. But before we get into that, we always check the cue board, and here we are. 4806 is where we left off. 4807 is where we're picking up, and we have a lot of stuff to get through. We're going to cover these latest Q posts. President Trump just got released from the hospital, and he is back in full force. And it seems like nothing can stop this man. And also, you know, we're going to talk a little bit about that briefly and what it means for the whole COVID narrative that the media has been drawing up over the last, who knows how long, since it started, basically. So I hope you guys stick around for that. And we're going to talk about some other news stories that you're going to want to hear, including Netflix coming under, it seems, indictment from a grand jury after that Cuties movie came out. We're going to talk about what that case looks like and a whole bunch of other stuff, including touching briefly on the Tavistock Institute. So there's a lot of stuff we're going to cover here in this episode, so stick around for it all. Before we get into that, quick reminder, the video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. What is the Brave Browser? It's an internet browser just like Chrome, just like Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, whatever you're using, but it's better. It blocks the ads, and it's 100% free. When you use the link in the description to download it, they'll make a contribution to this channel. As you can see there, it's faster than Chrome. It's better for privacy than Firefox. And as it says there, it uses 35% less battery on your mobile device. So I use it because it blocks the ads, and I think it's a better product all around. But if you guys want to try it out, go give it a shot. Use the link in the description to download it today. You run it, install it on your computer, your smartphone, your laptop, desktop, whatever. They'll make a contribution to this channel. So do that. And I guarantee you guys are going to really like that product when you try it out. So with that, we're going to get into the latest Q post. The first post we got here is from from Senator Ron Johnson on Maria Bartiromo's show, where he's talking about how Lindsey Graham is so happy with the way everything's going with the FBI when the American people are not. We're not happy with the fact that the FBI is putting out documents that are fully redacted. We're not happy with the fact that they're trying to cover up the truth about what's happened inside their own department and how they were behind a coup against the American president using fake evidence that was manufactured by the opposing political party to then spend 2-3 years of President Trump's first term in office accusing him of being a Russian agent without any evidence and having a special counsel investigation that cost the American taxpayer millions and millions of dollars. And I think what Q's hinting at, and we'll get into that in a second, is that there may be a change coming up in the FBI, which means Ray may be on his way out, but we're not sure exactly what that means. But I'm going to play this clip with Maria Bartiromo and Senator Ron Johnson because it's very telling.
Well, so let me disagree a little bit with Chairman Graham, where he said he's very pleased with the production out of the FBI. I am not. Let me just give you one example. Here's a document we got from the General Services Administration. You can see that it's an email, and everything's presented except for the very bottom. They've redacted the mobile phone number of the person writing the email. Here's the exact same email we got from the FBI. You see something different here? Everything is redacted. And that, we're supposed to get thousands of pages from I had to finally subpoena the FBI. They are on their second extension. Everything is due by, I think, the 30th of September. And that's the kind of information we get. It's non-information. We have to fight over redacting the same documents that we get from other agencies. So I am not happy at all with the document production we've gotten out of Director Wray and the FBI. Not even close.
You know what? I'm really glad you put up those documents, because this is something that I have heard from day one for 3+ years. When Ratcliffe was in Congress, Nunes in Congress, yourself in the Senate, you've been demanding documents to ensure that you understood what took place, and they will not get you the documents. They sit on documents and make it incredibly hard for you to prove the point that you know is true, and that is that it was a sham investigation into President Trump, and there's a ton of wrongdoing here. Do you think you're going to get the documents? I mean, is this Christopher Wray? Why is Christopher Wray still in charge of the FBI when he is overseeing these agents sitting on things?
His job should be to restore the credibility and integrity of the FBI, and the only way you do that is through exposure. But the other point I have to make, Maria, when we finally do get these classified sections redacted or unredacted, when they become declassified, you look at what information you have, and you have to ask yourself the question, what national security interest was at stake here? Why was this ever redacted? The answer is almost always because it embarrassed the agency or it embarrassed a powerful person. That is not the reason to classify information. It's certainly not the reason to keep the truth from the American public. And that's all I've been trying to do, is I've been trying to reveal the truth. Another important point to make. Yes. I've been accused of peddling Russian disinformation. There is no Russian disinformation in our 87-page report. The press report on it, and I'm calling on the press. You were duped. You were leaked false information. You should not protect those sources that leaked you false information. It should be your journalistic duty to basically tell the American people who provided you false information that resulted in this 2 or 3 year national nightmare because of the false narratives that you carried the Democrats' water on.
Do your job, media.
So there you have it. I mean, Senator Ron Johnson and Maria are 100% right. Do your job, media. They won't do their job because their job is to lie to you and to propagandize you and to deceive us all, right? Because I have to do this for a living every day. I have to read the Washington Post and the opinion articles from the New York Times and the Post, and I have to read the NBC News fake news articles. I have to read the ABC News, the CBS News fake news, and I do it every day for you guys, for us as a country, right? But the one thing I see in every one of their pieces about President when they cover this issue is a complete obfuscation of the truth, a complete misinterpretation of the facts, a complete and total lack of integrity in reporting, where you have nothing that's being reported as it is, and everything is taken out of context and presented to the American people in a way that is skewed against the President of the United States. So they are not news organizations. They are liars. They are, in my opinion, the most detestable people you could ever imagine, who would actually deceive the American public on behalf of the Democrat Party, because they're just another offshoot of the Democrat Party and the big corporations that are being protected by the Democrats, those liars, criminals, and thieves, in my opinion. So look, it's one of those things, you read through it and it says, time for a change. Let's see what happens. Q. Well, I'm not sure what that's referring to, other than my speculation is, obviously Director Wray is a part of the problem here, right? If he's the one who's keeping these documents out of the news, and even if he put it all out there, though, it still wouldn't matter because the fake news is going to lie about it, which is why we have to come together to spread the information, to disseminate it around these gatekeepers that live in these corporate bastions of just complete depravity, immorality, and lack of integrity. We have to go around them. And that's what we're doing, I believe. And that's what Q's hinting at. So again, here in Anon in the next post is one of the people who watches the skies, as it were, follows all the traffic and other things that you'll see. And one thing they picked up on here was they had a Boeing 742 with a call sign Trust 17Q. Isn't that interesting, right? And I love some of the Anons who over here, you got Shady Groove putting this graphic up. It's kind of funny with them. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, we know what's happening. And Q says right here, keep charging midnight riders, night watch Q. So obviously this is all happening where everyone's awake or waking up to this, right? To what's happening. And I think that the 742 is a 747-200 class, which is the early jumbo jet version. It's the same version, I believe, that the Air Force One is in the make of, where it's got the two decks with the flight crew on the top deck, and then it's got the other lower deck for the passengers and other things. So yeah, I thought that was interesting, and Q obviously brings it to our attention for a very good reason. Now the next thing here is an article that is bombshell as it gets, right? And it's a shame that even Fox News is the worst, one of the worst out there, just as bad as all the other fake news outlets. But sometimes they get the stories right. Obviously, a broken clock is right two times a day. And, you have people like Tucker Carlson, Hannity, Ingram, and a few others, Waters, Gutfeld to a degree, who actually do try to tell the truth on a regular basis on their network. But for the most part, the things you see from Fox News are just the worst, in my opinion. That's why I don't watch pretty much any other programming than the few that I mentioned there. And even then, some of them are not really my taste, but that's neither here nor there. Here's what the article talks about. DNI declassifies Brennan notes, CIA memo on Hillary Clinton, stirring up scandal between Trump, Russia. A source said Brennan's handwritten notes were taken after briefing Obama on the matter. So what we have here is proof, seemingly, that Brennan briefed Obama on the fact that Hillary Clinton used the Steele dossier to go after President Trump. So they all knew. That's the point is they all knew. And you don't hear a peep out of the fake news. That's why I think Q keeps bringing it up, because we know, Anons know, we're putting the word out there every day. We know this happened. We've seen the evidence. We've seen the documentation. But we have an entire corporate media system inside of our country that is lying to the American people. And if it's not a direct lie, it's a lie by omission. And that's something that we have to address, right? These people are the worst kind of individuals, as I said before. But here it is, the exclusive. Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe on Tuesday declassified documents that revealed former CIA Director John Brennan briefed former President Obama on Hillary Clinton's reported plan, to tie then candidate Donald Trump to Russia as, quote, a means of distracting the public from her use of a private email server, unquote, ahead of the 2016 presidential election. So there it is. That's the whole story. What more do you really need to know? They knew, and they still went after President Trump. They still use the government. They still use the power of the government against a citizen, right, with the intent of meddling in the 2016 election and spying on innocent U.S. civilians when they knew that they had done nothing wrong, for no other reason than for political gain. These people, at minimum, this is treason against our country to do these kind of things. Completely antithetical to the Constitution, completely antithetical to the Bill of Rights, completely antithetical to everything this nation was founded on. And it's here it is right in your face. Quote, we're getting additional insight into Russia activities from redacted, Brennan notes read, site summarizing alleged approved by Hillary Clinton a proposal from one of her foreign policy advisors to vilify Donald Trump by stirring up a scandal claiming interference by the Russian security service, Brennan's notes read. So it's giving you all the parts that aren't redacted here. But I mean, think about this. If this is being put out there, then that means that they knew everything. So we caught them. And as President Trump said a million times before, we caught them red-handed. If they were Republicans, they'd be in jail already for 50 years. And the idea that we've come this far and nothing's happened to these individuals is absurd. It's a complete affront to the justice system and the idea of justice in our country. And these people, in my humble opinion, how do you not hold them accountable for what they've done? The president's telling us, I'm just telling you what I see here, right? So, of course, it's just block after block of redactions, which probably would prove beyond any reasonable doubt that there was even more foreknowledge and that there was more corruption going on, but I guess that's sensitive to national security, as they would say, and continuing to be redacted and not publicly disclosed at this time. So, look, more is going to keep coming out. These people were caught red-handed. They're guilty as it gets, and I don't hear a word out of the fake news industrial complex, and that's the problem. And then Q says, "Let's see what happens." Well, let's see what happens, right? The next one, justthenews.com article, declassified memos. CIA feared Clinton was stirring up false Russia collusion narrative, and this is the same thing except with an interview between John Solomon and Devin Nunes, and it's basically covering the same set of information. But if you read through this article, you understand that they are all protecting each other. As it says here, CIA Director Gina Haspel has opposed releasing some of the information on the grounds that the agency could not fully determine whether some of the Russian intelligence that the U.S. interpreted was misinformation. But Ratcliffe decided to release the materials in part because they provide insight into possible red flags that the FBI ignored in pursuing a flawed Russia collusion probe. Well, no kidding. So we have a few things. Let's see what we've established. We've established that Hillary Clinton was using this disinformation to stir up this investigation against President Trump. We've established that Carter Page was working as an asset of the Central Intelligence Agency in terms of dealing with Russia, and that the FBI knew that, and the Department of Justice seemingly knew that, and they doctored emails to make it seem as though they didn't know, so they could go to a FISA court to get an illegal warrant to spy on the President of the United States, then candidate for the Republican Party, in order to have some sort of political advantage and to find dirt on their opponent. So presumably they could blackmail President Trump and then make him another controlled puppet, because we haven't had a free president in probably since Reagan, right? Because every one of the presidents who's come after that has been 100% owned and operated by the deep state, by the globalists, by the cartel cabal that is and exists, that Q has exposed, that we have exposed, that they target us for exposing. They call us conspiracy theorists. They call us crazy. They have all types of pejorative terms for us. But the idea here is that we knew, or they knew, I should say, everything, and they hid it because it embarrassed them. How about it expose treason? Senator Johnson was being nice, I think, when he said they were embarrassed. No, they weren't embarrassed. They're terrified. As I said before, they would rather destroy this country than to be held accountable for their crimes. They've basically held this country hostage and used the goodwill of the American people as a way to infiltrate and execute the most devious plot of subversion and basically treason that the world has ever seen, I would imagine. And of course, the information is in here, and Q basically says, let's see what happens. And then finally, here's this NBC News article where it talks about Facebook banning QAnon across all of its platforms. Well, isn't that convenient? That as the information comes out that proves once again that the things we've been talking about are verifiably accurate, right? With the declassification of information, big tech jumps in and just starts censoring us and deplatforming everyone who talks about it. Do you think they're all in it together? Was Facebook LifeLog, which was a DARPA project, meant for you to voluntarily submit all of your personal information to the deep state so that they could control you and blackmail you for your entire lives? If you ever decide to run for public office or do anything of any importance? I wonder. Is Twitter a controlled opposition platform that's basically discriminating against conservative Christians who want to save this republic from the deep state globalists who Satanists who are running it? I mean, is YouTube censoring videos that would counter the narrative that's being purported by these fake news liars? Is Google skewing their search results to favor the Democrat Party and to favor the fake news narrative, which is we've verified as propaganda, whether it's a lie directly or a lie by omission? These are questions that I would ask. I mean, if I was just an average citizen and I was curious to know what's happening here. But of course, you'll never see these stories in the fake news because they are there to deceive you. You are a pawn. You are subservient. You're a second-class citizen. You and me, we're not in their club, all right? And they don't want us ever in their club. They're going to call us the pejorative conspiracy theorists. They're going to try to put us down. But I'll tell you what, we will expose them. Trust me on that. So That's the latest on the Q Post. A few more stories I wanted to cover here. Netflix, Tyler County grand jury indicting Netflix for its controversial Cuties movie. The indictment here cites the I've never seen this movie. I would never watch this movie because it's disgusting and sick. And I think it's reprehensible and depraved that Netflix would put this on their platform, right? But from what I've heard of this movie, there are children who are basically put into sexual situations. And look, this is disgusting. In partially clothed manners, these people are trying to normalize the sick depravity that they've used and been involved with to blackmail and leverage for decades. Right? So the grand jury indicted the California-based streaming service on a charge of promotion of lewd visual material depicting a child. Well, good. I hope the board of directors, I hope every one of them goes before a judge and gets a fair sentence and hopefully ends up in prison. I hope that the CEO, the CFO, the CEO, anyone who signed off on that movie being put on their platform should face criminal charges for it. And I think that you should even go down the line of all the people involved in Netflix, the Obamas, Susan Rice formerly, just go down the whole line, right? You know what they are. We all know what they are. We all know what this is. That's the thing. It's not like it's rocket science to figure out what they're doing. They're just doing it blatantly and in your face so that they think they can, because they think they can get away with it. And here's another interesting article. A New York Times opinion piece, as I said, I have to read this garbage for you guys to show you how let's just say how completely lacking in integrity and honesty the fake news is. America may need international intervention. So before the election has even happened, they're writing articles about why they should be able to have Joe Biden go and the Democrats go to the United Nations and ask them to intervene in our election. For what reason? Oh, that's right, because they can't steal it with the mail-in voting fraud that they orchestrated through the hoax that was related to a certain pandemic that happened. Possibly, maybe. I don't know. Just saying. Possible. Anything's possible. So you read through this article, it's just a bunch of garbage, and it's a bunch of lies and mistruths and citing these old precedents throughout the war. The end of the article, I would say, basically says this, that they want the United Nations to be the governing body in the United States if they don't win power back. So if the Democrats don't win, the United Nations needs to step in and remove power from the Republicans and President Trump. Great. That's perfect. That's the level of discourse we're at with these criminals. And I'm talking about that in the broader sense, not specifically Peter Beinart, because I don't even know who this person is, but the article is an opinion article, and it's a terrible opinion. So in my opinion, it's a garbage opinion. So, take it with a grain of salt, right? So here's an interesting one. California have Gateway Pundit readers send in their photos of the flawed ballots. So here's an interesting one. In California, they sent out an official ballots to people in LA, the LA area. And if you'll notice on this page 4, it's got the ballot measure 21 and 22. Okay, well, and then here on page 5, it's got ballot measure 21 and 22 again. So I guess people in LA get to vote on ballot measure 21 and 22 twice. Yeah, no big deal. They'll get to vote twice on it. And I'm sure the system will pick it up and count it as 2 votes for 21 and ballot measure 22. I mean, come on, guys. This is insanity. The level of fraud, abuse, and corruption that's happening with this election is beyond anything I've ever imagined was possible. But of course, I'm not surprised. Here it is. Sick WAPO neocon calls to defund Walter Reed Hospital after President Trump receives treatment at military hospital. So you watch the news too, and one thing I'm seeing, because I have to read all these fake news garbage liars, is that they're just so disappointed that President Trump isn't on his deathbed. They think they feel like, I've never seen a class of individuals who are so contemptuous and detestable as is the fake news media liars in this country. They'll say and do anything for their own cause because they have no moral compass. I can't imagine any of these people go to church every Sunday and put Christ first in their lives. I just can't imagine it, because if you couldn't say the things they say and do that, they're sick people. They're sick people, and that's just the fact. As we have the fake news liar here, Jake Tapper, talking about how it's him alone in the CNN coffee room abiding by basic health regulations with his mask on. Oh, he's so proud to wear his mask. Wear your mask like a good little slave. Lock yourself in your room. Don't ever come out. Make sure you don't go out and do anything and have, can't go out and have a job. Can't go out and eat inside of a restaurant. Can't do anything normally as your normal life would because of a virus that's got a death rate that's less, a mortality rate that's less than the average seasonal flu. Oh, yeah, but we should stop everything, destroy our country, and shut down the economy. Sounds like a great plan, guys. As we have here, 4 members of Toledo City Council, all Democrats being accused of accepting bribes in exchange for votes. Oh, but there's no voter fraud. And James O'Keefe just did a full expose on Ilhan Omar and the vote scheme that they're running there in Minneapolis, where they seem to be allegedly paying for votes in the Muslim community. Yeah, that's how they get power. And apparently, allegedly, she's being backed by Palestinian millionaires who want to see the full-on destruction of Israel. So yeah, no big deal. That's just happening in a major American city, allegedly. So just ignore it. Nothing to see here, as they say. And then finally, I'm going to leave this tweet here about the Tavistock Institute. It's a good little read if you just want to read some information about it. But this is like pretty disturbing stuff. But remember, the Tavistock Institute developed mass brainwashing techniques which were first experimentally used on American prisoners of war in Korea. Its experiments in crowd control methods have been widely used on the American public, a surreptitious but nevertheless outrageous assault on human freedom by modifying individual behavior through topical psychology. Remember, that's what this all is. That's what the fake news is. That's what big tech is. It is modern psychological warfare against you and me, to manipulate and deceive us and push us in the ways as if you're sheepdogs pushing sheep into a pen. That's what they're trying to do to you and me. So go read this. It's very interesting, and I just thought I'd share that in closing. But that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. So thank you guys for watching this episode. A few more things before we go. Watch these videos, share them, and also leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about all this. I always enjoy reading through all your comments. Thank you for commenting on every episode. Also, you can come over here. There's some of the actual unredacted parts, but you can find me over here at JustinFormedYou on Twitter for now, until they delete that account, and at informed_news. And I'm also over here on Parler at JustinFormed Talk, also at justinformednews.com is the official website for JustinFormed Talk. BitChute.com/JustinFormed Talk is the backup channel. Plus, if you guys want to become members on Patreon, I encourage you to do it. You guys keep this channel alive. They've shut down my GoFundMe page, so you can't do the one-time or anonymous donation there yet anymore. I'm going to have to go figure out how to fix that. But right now, you can still come and you can donate via Patreon, which is a crowdfunding website. It's a monthly donation. You guys can set your donation for whatever it is and know you're creating content, helping to create content on this channel. And I thank you for your support there. It means the world to me, and I couldn't do this without you guys. And a quick programming reminder, the next week I'm going to be down in Miami for the American Priority Conference. And I just want to let you guys know the videos may not be coming up as regularly. I'll do my best to get up as many as I can. I'm hoping to do some live streams. I'm hoping to do some cool interviews with some cool people. So stay tuned for that. You guys aren't going to want to miss that. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. But we're going to go ahead and do our segment at the end we do, which is God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today I want to read a verse out of the book of James. And this is James chapter 1, verse 22 through 25. And we've done parts of this verse before. We've done the whole thing. But I want to remind you guys what it means to be doers of the word and not just hearers, meaning we don't just hear the word from God and say, oh yeah, that's great. We hear it and then we go and do it out in the world, which means we preach the gospel, we live well, we live good, righteous lives, we pray every day, we put God first, we help others. And I'm going to read these words to you. It says, but be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Because if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man looking at his own face in a mirror. For he looks at himself, goes away, and right away forgets what kind of man he was. But the one who looks intently into the perfect law of freedom and perseveres in it, and is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer who acts, this person will be blessed in what he does. Now, I know a lot of you are like, well, yeah, no kidding. But I think sometimes the simplest things are the hardest things for us to do in our lives. And I'm not perfect. I have trouble with being a doer of the word every day too. I'm just like you guys out there. But I know that what it says is when you're not a doer of the word, it says here, you're just deceiving yourself. So remember that we can hear the word and we can embrace it in our own lives, but go that extra step and be doers of the word. Share the gospel with your family and friends. Go to church, volunteer in your community, find a food shelter, donate your time, donate whatever you can, give back, help others, share with others the word of Christ, whether it's your family, friends, or somebody you meet out in the street. Just say prayer before every meal or before anything you do and ask God to help you and guide you. You'll see that at the end of the day, the person, it says here, this person, the one who does is a doer, will be blessed in what he does. You'll be blessed. And that's my word and message to you. Take that, share that, put it out there, be doers of the word. But thanks for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. And that's going to be it for me, though. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. Remember to come here, hit that subscribe button, and also hit that like button if you guys like this content and want to see me make more. Thanks for watching. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.